So in this video, I want to talk about directional check-ins. This is a method that I use with my students to help them stay focused, especially if they have special needs or just struggling to get things done. And basically, the idea is to have the student check in with you every single time you give them an instruction. And this works great if you're doing online instruction because they just can message you back what they think that they need to do, what they think their next task is, as soon as you finish giving those instructions. So this is essentially doing checks for understanding, but with instructions. So, for example, let's say I assign my class today. I wanted to all work on a lab, and what I'll tell them is, okay, guys, go to Schoology, go to lesson 2 of Unit 1, and find a lab that's called uh, diffusion and osmosis, and then open that lab and follow the instructions that you have to do there. Then I might say something like, rebels, please check in. Rebels are the people who know that they are supposed to be doing directional check-ins. Now, sometimes I'll ask the entire class to do it, and I'll say, everybody message me back with what you're supposed to be doing. Or I'll say, everybody uh, lift up a reaction that matches what you're supposed to be doing. And I'll have a list of reactions on the screen. One of them might be like, I'm working on catch-up work. I'm working on today's work, which is the lab. I am working on some advanced work because I already finished the lab, right? So, and they will lift the color coding card of their reaction. If they're doing this online, they'll put a reaction on Zoom to indicate that they understand what task they're supposed to be doing. And that color coding matches what's on the screen, right? Or what's posted on the board. But even if I'm doing that with the whole class, the people who I call rebels, they're trained. I'd ask them, if you hear me say rebels check in, that means that you need to let me know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Now, if I'm doing this in person, I'll have them literally write what they're supposed to do in a post-it and put it right next to them. And then I can walk around and see that they understand what their task at hand is. If they're doing this online, I ask them to send me a message with what they're supposed to be doing. And then I ask them to check in with me ever so often. So I will put a timer and immediately, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes, depending on how long the task is or how long I want to chunk that task in. Let's say there's a lab and there's lots of parts to the lab. I might give my kids a goal and say something like, okay, guys, in about 15 minutes, you should be done with the pre-lab section. So I'll check in with you guys about 5 minutes from now, just to make sure you made some good progress. Then I'll put a 5-minute timer. The 5 minute goes by, and I'll say it out loud. Hey, everybody, it's 5 minutes have gone by. How much did you get done? Rebels check in. See how I do that? Now, 5 minutes might be too little, although if it's just a start of class, I will do it after 5 minutes because some kids struggle to get started. So after 5 minutes, I'm giving them a boost right away at the very start of class. But then after that, I might use 10 minutes, every 10 minutes intervals, depending again on how long I think they should spend with the task that they're doing. And if I'm doing this online, I will post a timer in the actual meeting. If I'm doing this in class, I will actually just post that on the board. But helping kids stay on pace with that timer is also a kind of important thing for them to check in. But the idea is directional check-ins is that every time that you do give a direction, you ask the people who struggle to actually get started what the direction was. And then you do check-ins every so often to make sure they're making progress and that they continue to be in place. You can also ask them to check in after you ask questions. So let's say I ask a question of the class. I say, all right, guys, what did you learn on today's lab? Rebels, make sure that you reply, right? So notice that I'm asking the rebels to check in, right? So reminding them that if I have the whole class, they specifically have to reply. If I'm doing this online, even if I ask a specific student a question, like say, for example, say, Jonathan, what did you think about the video that we just watched? What is your opinion about it? Rebels, I want your opinion to be sent on me on private as well. So that makes me every single person that is in that MTSS plan or a special list knows that they're supposed to do that. Then if I notice that they're not checking in, and I have a roster on my screen or on my clipboard if I'm doing this in person, and I know who the students are supposed to be, and I very quickly tag them, right? If they actually do check in. If they don't check in, then I know something is wrong and that they need to be checked in on by me. And then I will walk to them, or in the case if I'm online, I'll send them a message and be like, "What's going on? You didn't check in. You were supposed to." So this is essentially doing checks for understanding, right? But with a more intentional practice or method to make sure that that is happening often, so that the students uh, feel like that they're constantly uh, prodded for understanding, and you can know that they're not lost, they're not confused, they're not sitting there not doing anything because they don't know what to do or because they feel overwhelmed. Of course, on top of that, I also encourage my students to ask questions themselves, right? And I try to say, if you do ask questions, I am going to help. I'm going to be here for you. And I'm not just necessarily going to give you the answer. I'm going to help you. I'm going to ask you questions to help you think, right? Because sometimes they don't want to ask for help because they're embarrassed of asking for help, or because they don't want help. They want to figure it out on their own. So I kind of encourage them and tell them, I'm not going to ruin it for you. I'm going to accept you. I'm always going to, never going to make you feel bad for asking for help. And if you want, I'm not just going to give you answers. I'm going to guide you, right? And so I encourage you to try to do the direction check-ins in class. And if you're a student watching this video, uh, I asked you to watch this video because I want you to be a rebel. So from now on, if I say rebels check in, I mean you. I mean you need to do this. You need to send me a message and tell me what your next step is, whether it's because I just gave an instruction or because I'm giving you a time check or because I asked a question of the class. I want to hear from you so that I know that you are okay. And don't worry, if you're not okay, I will be there for you. All right, guys? I'll see you in the next video. Don't do anything that would make your mama proud.